Hey there, CJ students. Welcome to math task number 7. We're going to add and subtract rational numbers. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do this today, which is going to be kind of cool. We'll see your thinking, what you want to do, but there are some basic kind of rules that we always need to follow, right? So when adding decimals, the things we want to remember is same signs add, keep, and different signs subtract more. But you also want to remember to line up the numbers on the decimal, right? And then any empty spaces you get filled with zeros. Let me show you what I'm talking about. 4.5 and 12.9. So if I write, first of all, this is an SSAK. They're both positive, so we're going to add and keep the sign. So if I write 4.5 here, I need to write my next number such that I write the decimal first and then fill in the number. 9, 2, 1. So you'll notice that there's nothing above a 1, so we can just count that as 0, right? So we add this up. Make sure we remember our rules of carrying, and we get 17.4. Okay. When we are doing our integers, remember same thing. So 1.8. Put the decimal first, write in everything to the left and right of it. Notice this has an empty spot again, so you could fill this in with a 0 if you want. But we're going to add these up. And then just remember to keep the negative sign, right? Because both were negative. Now, it gets a little interesting when we get to DSSM problems, because you're always going to want to put the one that you have more of on top. Because remember, even though there's that addition sign, you're actually going to subtract. So we have more positives, so we're going to put that positive number on top. We're going to put the negative number on bottom. That doesn't always mean you put the negative number on bottom. If you had more negatives, then you would actually put it on bottom. So again, remember, you're actually subtracting here, right? Because it's different signs subtract more. Again, empty space gets a 0, and you got to remember to borrow in this case because you can't do 0 minus 4, right? So, and we're left with 8. And remember, we had more positives, so it's positive 8.36. You're going to do number 4 in Ed Puzzle. For fractions, the things to remember is you got to make sure you find common denominators. You can never add fractions together unless they have the same denominator, right? So here we have a 6, here we have a 3. I can't add those. You always want to make sure you also simplify, and we usually don't want to work with improper fractions. You want to change those back into mixed numbers if possible. All right, so this is a DSSM. Different signs subtract more. So we're going to end up subtracting, right? But the first thing you have to do, obviously, is change it so that we have common denominators. So you got to ask yourself, what is the common denominator, the greatest common factor between 6 and 3? It's obviously 6. So multiply this factor on top and bottom by 2, so you can get that denominator of 6. So it's negative 1, 6, plus 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. Now I have common denominators. Now all I have to do is look at my numerators, right? So negative 1 plus 4 DSSM, that's obviously positive 3, right? Because we have more positives over 6. And you want to simplify your fraction, right? You don't want to leave your answer as 3 over 6, right? So what can I divide both these by? I can divide both by 3. And I get myself 1/2, right? Let's try one more together, and then I'll actually have you do something on your own. Number 7 will probably be better. This is a DSSM problem again. We've got 5/8 plus negative 3/4. So again, I ask myself, all right, what's the common denominator between 8 and 4? Okay, and it's 8. So I'm multiplying both by 2 here. So I have 5/8 plus negative 6 over 4. Over 8. 4 times 2 there. Again, I'm asking myself, okay, I got common denominators. Now I just need to look at my numerators. So 5 plus negative 6, that is negative 1 over 8, and that is totally simplified. Right? Think about this real quick before we go. It's a DSSM. There are more negatives. My answer is going to be negative, right? You've got 3 over 12, and then you got this negative 1 and 2/3. That's interesting. You're going to want to break apart negative 1 and 2/3. So you got negative 1 whole, and you've got negative 2/3 as a fraction, right? So this really looks like negative 1 plus negative 2/3. And then you're going to want to maybe use the commutative property to rearrange this stuff. So 3/12 plus negative 2/3 plus negative 1. Think about that and then go ahead and try and work that problem.